Hey guys, and welcome to my world building vlog. So my name is Erin and I'm a writer. I'm working on several fantasy pieces, so I decided I would do a world building series just going over some of the things that I've had to figure out and pass that along to you guys. So today's topic is going to be legalities, which I know sounds like a really boring topic, but laws basically form the skeleton of your society. They show what your society values, and it creates a lot of roadblocks for your characters if you set it up properly. So laws can be plot points. If you need something to trip your characters up, if you need to prevent them from being able to do something or go somewhere, then law is your best friend in this. Laws also give your characters something to fight against. If you have unjust laws in your society, then there's probably a pretty good chance that your character would like to get rid of some of those. And it just gives them something, a conflict to move against. You want to consider how laws are going to inhibit your characters, if they're going to inhibit them, and how that reflects on the situation, whether they're okay with breaking these laws, and whether other characters are breaking the laws and why. Because you want to consider this in some stories, like with Robin Hood, where it's steal from the rich to feed the poor. It's criminal activity, but it's not necessarily bad, and you can look at different angles like that in your story as well. You're also going to want to consider how legal obstacles are impacting the quality of life for your character. So, for example, in my historical fiction, there's very few opportunities for women in the situation that my character is in, and so she's basically facing destitution at this point, which leads her into a whole bunch of criminal activity just to try to survive. You want to figure out which laws you want your characters to break, how they're going to do that, and what is the purpose of doing it to begin with. If people need to break the law in order to survive, then maybe those laws need to change. You can also look into things that have to do with family and laws. This is going to be things like inheritance and autonomy. In a lot of cases, if your characters are younger or female in some cases of history, they're considered property of their parents or their husbands or what have you. In regards to autonomy, this is going to be cases where people don't necessarily have the legal power to make choices for themselves. Whether they are not of age yet, they're a specific group that is controlled by another or by the government. All these different factors are going to influence how your character can interact with the world, the opportunities that they have, and the power of self that they're able to employ. It's also going to come into play with things like inheritance. Maybe your character's in a situation where they are absolutely relying on the inheritance from a family member, and someone at the last minute razzle-dazzles them and screws all that up and they get nothing. Then you can look at the impact that that would have on your character. So you want to look at which laws apply specifically to your characters and their situations, and if they're going to be fighting against them, which ones are they fighting against? In a lot of history, still in a lot of places now, there are laws that prohibit you from loving who you love or being who you are. And these are laws that should be fought against. These are laws that if they exist in your fantasy world, your characters can strive to overcome. One thing that laws are really good for is creating society-wide conflict. If unjust laws are in place, people are going to be pissed off about them. Maybe it starts off as a small group, but eventually the injustice is going to ripple out, and people are going to start to fight back. You want to consider legal boundaries to food, to education, to property, to basic autonomy of your person. If there are laws prohibiting people from doing this, then it gives your characters something to strive against. If they want to attend school, if they want to control their own body, if they want to marry who they want to marry, these are things that are going to come into play when you're crafting the legalities of your world. Laws are something that set hard boundaries, they highlight injustice, and they give you a rough guide of conduct and how your society works. Different groups are going to have different things be illegal. It just depends on what they value and how everything is structured. You can also have this come into play if your characters are visiting different kingdoms, different countries, what have you, because the laws are going to be different and it's going to impact them in different ways. Use the laws to your advantage. You can create a whole lot of roadblocks for your characters, work in a lot of plot points, and do a ton of world building just from this one simple step. So, I hope that's helpful for you guys. I will see you next week with another world building video. I will put all of my links to my social media and whatnot in the description, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye, guys.